Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Dmitry, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can improve the developer experience of your existing and upcoming Angular libraries by adding the support of ng-add schematic. For those who just started with Angular, I will quickly explain. Angular schematics, those are kind of scripts that allow you to create or modify files in your Angular project. As example, when you type ng generate component and then some string, you will invoke an appropriate schematic that will generate a new component for you, so you don't need to type everything manually. So this is schematics in action, and ng-add schematic is being executed when you add some library that support this kind of schematic to your project. And if you have ever worked with popular libraries like Angular Material or NGX Bootstrap or NGRX, then you probably noticed that if you add these libraries to your project by running ng-add command, then somehow magically your app module TS file is being updated, all necessary imports are added to this file, all necessary npm modules are being installed. So just running this one single command, you get already a proper setup for this library and you are ready to go. This is ng-add schematic in action, and this is exactly what we'll cover in this video. This video is supposed to be quite long because I decided to do everything from the very beginning. So in the first part we will create Angular library, then we will publish this library to the local npm registry that we will create by using Verdaccio. Then we will implement ng-add schematic and add some very basic functionality that will allow us automatically install node dependencies. And after that, we will do a little bit more advanced stuff like updating app module TS file, and we will add appropriate imports there to our Angular modules and things like that. So there will be 4 parts. Time codes will be in the video description, so please use them to easier navigate through the video. And let's get started. So let's be consistent and create such a library. Fortunately, with ng-CLI, it is quite easy to do. You just type ng new, then you can name it as you want. As example, I call it ngx schematic sleeps example, and the important flag you have to provide is no create application, because we don't want to have it, at least in our particular case. We just want to create the ng workspace. So you have to run this command, and now we can navigate to ngx schematic sleep example and open it with VS Code. Here we go. As you can see, it is absolutely empty workspace. There is empty Angular JSON file, then you can find the package.json only and tsconfig JSON file, and this is pretty much it. And now I would like to create a library that is also quite easy task thanks to ng-CLI. So I just type ng generate library, and I call it super UI library, whatever, you can name it as you want. So now I press enter, and you can see that there were created projects folder, and there inside there is my super UI library. There is the source code, so this is just empty standard library created by Angular CLI. So now I will pull it down a little bit, and here you can see Angular JSON has been updated, and there were added different configurations, whatever. By the way, would you be interested if we would cover this Angular JSON file in more details and figure out what mean all those stuff, all those configurations? I think it could be interesting. Let me know in the comment section what do you think about that. Let's move forward. So we created a library, and now I can actually build it by running npm run build, and you can see the library has been successfully built. Now inside this I can find the compiled version of my library. Awesome. So now we could basically make an initial commit. And let's move forward, and the next step would be publishing the library into some npm registry. I will be using the npm registry called Verdaccio. It's a lightweight Node.js private proxy registry that we can up and running locally, and I publish my package not to the npm registry where we usually publish our public libraries. Just for testing purposes, I will do it locally in using this Verdaccio. So what we have to do is to run this command in order to install this package. So I'm doing it right now. Once everything installed successfully, you can run Verdaccio, and there at the localhost 4873 should be served our Verdaccio server or npm registry. And here's the couple of steps we have to perform. First of all, we have to add a new user. So let's do it, and I will close this terminal. All right, so I will open additional tab, and I will run npm add user registry localhost. So we create a user for this npm registry, and I call this user Dmitro. And the password will be very simple, 12345. Then we have to add the email. So here is my public email. Awesome. We have logged in, and now we are ready to publish our library. But before we do that, we would adjust our package JSON, and we define publish config, and we say that the registry, the repository where we will be deploying the artifacts, is our new registry, which has this URL. So let's add it and save it. Then we have to rebuild one more time our library. And then we can navigate to the dist folder and how we call it super UI library, and do npm publish in order to publish our library to our registry, right? And now if I go back to Verdaccio and reload the page, you can see that our library has been added to the registry. So now we could actually install this library in our third-party project, but we will do it a little bit later. Now let's go back and focus on schematic creation. In fact, there are schematics that are generating schematics, yeah, some helpers, but for learning purposes, I would suggest you to do everything by hand. I think it's better to learn when you actually do it. So what we have to do is to create a new folder in the root of our library, and you can call this folder as you want, but usually it is being called as a schematics, like that. And Then inside the schematics folder, we have to create a file, namely collection.json. And inside this JSON file, we have to have at least this piece of content. Schema and schematics. Our schema should point out to the base collection schema that is located inside Angular DevKit library, and namely it is inside node modules, Angular DevKit, schematics, collection schema JSON. The next required field in this collection JSON is schematics. There will be the list of schematics that are being supported by our library, and here we will add our first schematic, and it is ng-add. So the key here is the name of the schematic, so it is ng-add, and it is important to name it as ng-add because when we run ng-add command, Angular CLI will be looking for the schematics with exactly this name. So it should be named as ng-add. It is necessary. And let's add some additional fields. The first one could be description. There we can just put some string that describes what this schematic does. In my case, I have string like that. And the next important property is a factory. Factory, it is the path to the file and function that has to be executed when we trigger this schematic. So I will put this factory under the ng-add folder. This folder you can name as you want, but I want to be consistent with the naming, so I will create I will create later ng-add folder as well, and there will be index file, and then important you have to use the hash sign, and after the hash sign we have to define the name of the function that will be basically our factory, so the function that will be triggered eventually. So I'm going to name it ng-add as well, and this syntax might remind you the old syntax for Angular router when we want to load a lazy module for some URL path. We had also something like that. We had a path to the file, and then after the hash we defined which ng module should be loaded. So here is something similar. And now we have to create appropriate folders and files. So inside the schematics I will create the ng-add folder, and there inside there will be index.ts file. And of course I have to export new function, and how I call it, ng-add, like that. And this is just a function, and this function should return such a thing called rule. And this rule comes from Angular DevKits/schematics. Here we go. As you can see, rule, it is a function that takes two arguments, tree and context, schematic context, and returns some trees. So let's return such a function, and let's import the tree. It comes also from the DevKit, Angular DevKit schematics, and also schematics context we need. Now, what are tree and what are semantic context? And tree, it is a virtual representation of the files on your disk. So files that will be available in the project where you are running your schematics. And the virtual, because we will be working a lot with the file modifications. There will be the chain of transformations, and from the performance point of view, it is easier to work with plain JavaScript file rather than always to read and write data into the files. So during this old transformation, we use plain object. It is quite cheap operation, and once we are done with all modifications, then we can write this final solution into the TypeScript file. So that's the idea, and this is what tree represents. And context of schematic, it is an object which provides you logging functionality, debugging, it defines the changes merge strategy, and stuff like that. We will be using a couple of its features a bit later. And then, as you can see, this rule function also returns and the tree, so it is kind of already transformed tree. And here we can already do some easy but useful, still useful stuff. We could automatically install node dependencies, so developer doesn't need to run additionally npm install or yarn install and things like that. I would suggest you first of all write some log message to the user and say that we are about to install dependencies. And as I said, context object has the functionality which allows us to do logging. So it has the logger, and there we can pick any type of log message. In my case, it will be just in for. I just want to notify the developer that we are installing. All right, makes sense. And also inside the context, we have the method add task, and we have a task that will actually install those dependencies for us, and it is called node package install task, and it comes from schematics tasks, and namely we have to import this class. Pay attention that it should be the instance of this class, and also inside the constructor you can provide the object, and there you can define package manager like yarn or npm, what needs to be used in order to install everything, the package name, working directory, so things like that. For this case we keep it simple. We don't need all those things right there. So I can save it, and then we can instruct Angular CLI the strategy how this dependency should be saved and where this dependency should be saved. We can do it inside the package JSON file, and we can introduce a new property here called ng-add, and there another property called save, and this property can have multiple values. It can have value true, means that it should be saved in the dependencies. Then you can say that it can be false, means that it will not be saved, or you can also say that it should be saved in the dependencies, which is basically the same as a true, and also you can say that it should be saved in dev dependencies if you would like to add your library as a dev dependencies. So in my case, I just leave it as a true, means it will be added to the dependencies for the project that will install my library. And we are almost done. The only thing is remaining is that we have to save this file, of course, and we have to, let's say, point out where our collection JSON lives, because Angular CLI will not be able to figure out where exactly our schematics are living in our library. So in order to do this, we have to go back again to the package.json, and we have to add a new property called schematics, which is quite obvious. And here we will define the path to our collection JSON file. All right, so when we will run ng-add and name of our library, Angular CLI will check if we have this parameter. So we have the schematics parameter, and then it sees that it leads to the collection JSON file. Inside the collection JSON file, it finds ng-add schematic and says, oh yeah, it's exactly what I'm looking for. And it will execute ng-add, and ng-add says that, okay, use the factory, or basically use the script which lives under the ng-add folder inside the index.js file, because it will be compiled from TypeScript to JavaScript, yeah. And then it will execute ng-add function, which is this one, and there we will log the message, and we add the task, a node package install task that will trigger the npm install basically under the hood. So I hope it's pretty much clear so far, okay? Yeah, so you can imagine what is going on there. Now we have to properly build our library. What I mean by properly build, I mean that if we run npm run build right now, Angular CLI will build the source code inside this source folder and put it in the dist folder like we did before. But the schematics folder will be ignored, and we have to build schematics and copy the artifacts or the output next to these folders. So in our library package.json file, let's create a few scripts. The first one is build. This build command will compile our TypeScript file for schematics and generate the proper output, some JavaScript code. So I will use TypeScript compiler, and with this -p flag we can define the TypeScript config JSON file, and let's create the separate file specifically for our schematics. So somewhere here in the root folder for our library, I will create tsconfig schematics JSON file. And there inside I will place the following code. I just took it from the official documentation and adjusted just few parameters. I just adjusted our output dir, so I say that the compiled code should be placed under this path. And then also I say that, yeah, include everything from schematics and exclude everything from schematics file. This is, we will cover it probably in the next video if you like this one. So don't forget to hit your thumbs up, so I will see that you are interested in this kind of video, and I will create the second part of this video where we will cover also files. Small spoiler, it is about generation of your custom services, components, things like that. It's going to be quite interesting, at least for me. I don't know about you, let me know about it. So, good, the rest is okay. And yeah, I adjusted also root dir. Make sure that root dir matches your root dir right there. Okay, and now I can save it, and let's get back to our build script, and I say that use tsconfig schematics JSON. Awesome. So this script will build everything for us, but after the build we have to perform another operation, and namely we have to copy a collection JSON file as well. Yeah, and for this purpose I will create a post build script. And yeah, by the way, npm supports post and pre scripts. If you name the script like post and then some name, in my case build, it means that this script will be executed automatically right after the build command. Yeah, and you can also have pre-build, then it will be executed before the build command is executed. Yeah, just a small hint if you didn't know. And as I said, we have to copy some files like collection JSON to the dist folder. For this purpose, I will be using the copy files npm package. So let's install npm install, or oops, I had to add it to the dev dependencies, but okay, let it be in just dev dependencies. So yeah, we are going to use this command copy files, and we say that copy collection JSON to dist folder, and namely super UI lib. Okay, it looks like we are ready to try it out. So first of all, we have to modify the version of our library. Then we can navigate to the root folder of our project and run build command in order to build the library itself. And then we have to run this build in the root folder of our library in order to build our schematics. So I'll go back to the project super UI lib and run npm run build. And you can see that, all right, copy files command not found, but I have copy files installed, right? In my package JSON. What? I cannot find it. What's going on? I thought I installed this, didn't I? Strange. Okay, let's try to install it one more time. Copy files, and it's dev dependency. All right, here we go. Aha, complete log. There was a problem with installation. Okay, let's maybe try to edit manually. I don't know, copy files and oh my god, the latest version, or which version is the latest one? 2.4.1. Okay, let's have it like this and try to install npm install like that. Failed. Why? Let's try to install it now. Now it works. Okay, I think some bug with npm registry, or something with my computer. I don't know, some magic. All right, never mind. Let's navigate to our library and run npm run build one more time. Okay, now as you can see, everything worked out. Looks like files were copied to the dist folder. Yeah, you can see schematics, ng-add, and everything is right there, as well as our collection. So everything seems to be fine. The version of our new package is the second version, yeah. And now we are ready to publish everything, and I will navigate to the dist folder, to the super UI library, and just run npm publish. So now the second version is in our Verdaccio. Here we go. The second version is uploaded, and let's try it out. Let's try to create a new Angular project and try to install this package. So I will go 3 levels down to my open source folder, and let's try to run ng-new schematics test application, and don't want to have anything of that. Please just create me a project. Cool. And let's navigate to we call it schematics test application. I will open it with a code with another one, right? And here I will run npm install our super UI library, and I define the registry like this. You could also create some .npm rc file and say define the registry right here. I think the syntax is like this, so now we don't need to define it here. And yeah, we don't need to run npm install. We will be using ng-add, right? So ng-add our super UI library, and now I press enter and enable to load package information from registry. Why it should point out to our new okay, come on guys, I don't know what's going on with me today, but you can see now it asks if we want to proceed with our schematics. So Angular CLI recognized that we have ng-add schematics, and we say yes, please continue, and you can see installing dependencies. So actually the thing we described in our schematics file. So we just asked to install dependencies, and you can see that it was successfully installed. Our schematic works, and it is cool, but a little bit useless. Would you agree with me? Just installing dependencies is good to have, but it's not so valuable thing. It would be great if we could automatically set up our model for our library in the application TypeScript file. I think it would be more useful piece of functionality, and I'm quickly show you how to do it, though it's already quite a long video, but sorry, I hope you're enjoying this. Yeah, somewhere before the dependency installation, I will probably copy this line. I will copy this logger, and I say that we adding modules to the app. What do we need in order to do that? First of all, we need the path to the application model. So let's create an appropriate constant like module path, and it is going to be the path to our app modules, which is like this. This is the path to app module ts file that exists for pretty much every component, located somewhere here, and so far it will be hard-coded. You are able to use different options to configure specifically which model you want and path to the model where you want to apply your modifications. But for this video, we will leave it as it is. But yeah, having this path, we have to check if this model exists. Would you agree with me? So let's use by the way, the method which comes from the tree, and namely this method called exists, and here we say model path, and if, or better say, if it doesn't exist, then we just throw a new schematics exception saying that the file model path doesn't exist. And we have to import this stuff somewhere right here. It comes also from schematics. Cool. So having this guard and making sure that this model, this file exists, we can continue and we can start to update this file. And updating of this file, modification of this file happens with two steps. The first one, we apply a set of transformations that needs to be applied to the file content, and then we commit those changes, or basically we save those changes in the file. And there are two methods that can help us with that. The first one comes from the tree and it called begin update. And here we have to provide the path to the model that we are going to update. And after that, as I said, we have to commit update. So kind of save the changes we applied to that file. And commit update expects that we provide update recorder, and this update recorder, this is exactly what returns this begin update method. So we can save it in some constant, right? And then we can provide this recorder right there. And recorder should record some changes that we are going to apply to the file. And there is a specific function to do that, and it is called apply to update recorder function, and it comes from package schematics and namely Angular utility change like this. And let's have a look what expects this function. So it expects the recorder itself, so let's provide it, and then we have to provide the array of changes. And there are some helper functions that can simplify the modification of ng modules. Some those helper functions may allow you to insert ES6 import like that, or add some specific model to imports array in the ng module, and so on. So I will show you one of them, and it is called add import to model, and we have to import this as well. It also comes from schematics, Angular, but this time from AST utils. And as I said, there are many other helpers. You can find them all right here. As you can see, you can add declaration to the model, add export to the model, and many other things. But in our case, we need only this function. And let's have a look what this function, which argument has this function. And first of all, we have to provide a source file, and not just a path to this source file. You can see that we need a TS source file and how to create it. In order to create it, we have to import TypeScript like that. And this TS, if we have a look, it has a lot of other helper functions. And namely, we are interested in the method create source file. This is what we were looking for, and let's assign it immediately to some constant. I will name it, let it be source. Okay. And now let's have a look what arguments requires this function in order to create a source file. And The first argument, it is a file name, which is string, and we actually have it. It is a path to our module, so I copy it and paste it as a first argument. The second one is the source text. So basically it is content of this file. In order to get it, we have to read this content from the file, from this application module. How do we do this? We can use the helper method from our tree, and it is called read. And we have to provide the path to the file we're going to read. And let's save it to some constant and name it just text. Here we go. Also, you might see that it returns either buffer or null, and I would suggest you to have the simple check. If our text equal to null, then we will throw schematics exception, and we will say that the file doesn't exist. I think we can leave this message as it is. You can make it more precise, but never mind. For this example, it is absolutely fine. Now we can use this text and provide it as a second parameter for our source file with only one small adjustment. It is because, as you can see, the source text needs to be a string, but if we have a look at the type of our text, it's actually the buffer, and we have to convert it to the string, and we can do it by calling toString method for our buffer. And the third parameter is language version, or script target, means in which version of JavaScript should be compiled the file. And you can find all possible values in the script targets, and there you can see the list of all available targets like ESNext, ES5, ES3, and so on. I will pick the latest version, and the last parameter is set parent nodes. Just set it to true, like that. And now we have the first parameter for our add import module helper function, so we can provide this source right there. The second parameter is module path, and we have this path, so we can paste this constant right there. Third parameter, classified name. It is a class name that needs to be added to imports array in our ng module, and it is basically our main library module. So this is this class, yeah, so we can copy it, and then as a string, I believe it should be a string, classified name string, yeah, exactly. So as a string we can paste it there. And the last parameter is import path, so it is a this part actually, and in our case it will be also the string, and it will be equal to our library name. I believe it is this one, so I can copy it and insert it right there. Here we go. Sorry, I don't need semicolon here. All right, we are done. Now we should save it. Then we going to rebuild our library. So I just opened the new terminal, and there we run npm. Sorry, we have to change the version of this library. It's already the third version, all right? And now we run build. So we're going to compile our library. Then we have to build our schematics. So we navigate to projects, super UI library, and run npm run build as well. By the way, you can create a specific script in order to do this in one run. But yeah, let's skip it for now. And the last step is to publish this new version, right? So I can go 2 levels up, then go to the dist and into our super UI library, and then npm run publish. Cool. Our third version was published. We can see it right here. Yeah. And now we can uninstall the super UI library to remove it, and then we reinstall it. Yeah. So I run again ng-add super UI library. Then we should see the question if we want to proceed. Yes, we want to proceed. And here we go. First, you can see that our app module was updated. So let's have a look if everything was updated fine. And indeed, you can see that we added the import to our super UI library module, and it was added right here inside the imports array. Wow. Alright guys, that was it. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I'm quite sure that you learned a lot of new stuff today, and if so, please share this video with your colleagues and friends in your social media. I would highly appreciate it. Please let me know in the comment section if you would like to see a couple of more videos about Angular schematics. I personally find this topic really interesting, and I could find something else to share with you regarding Angular schematics. So please let me know. If I see positive feedback from you, I will definitely create at least one more video about that. If you would like to support my channel and additionally get some cool knowledge, then check out my video courses. You will find links to them basically everywhere. In the video description I will add the link. There should pop up the link as well. So check them out, and I wish you a productive week ahead. Stay safe and see you in the future videos. Peace.